And, I can't think of anybody else who can do that, who just takes me wherever you go. And I have so much respect for the musical shamans because they're living in another dimension and they're hearing something and bringing it through the veil. Okay? You can always tell good musicians and good artists because you know that it didn't come from the head. You know that whatever it is that was created wanted to be created. You know that, okay? And we get a glimpse. It's like they bring us in with a little glimpse from heaven, And that's just so sweet. And I know we do have a lot of musicians and artists, poets, anybody that does anything of any kind of artistic realm. Dance, there's some point when you get out of the way and you become it, and it comes through you. Personally, I think that that's one of the messages that Jesus had for everybody. As we're here celebrating here on Easter Sunday, our theme this month is power. My topic today is the power to resurrect. One of the things that Jesus was explaining to people, he says that we are in the world, but not of the world, is how it's transcribed in the King James Version. And I'll say something about that in a second. So the New Testament was first written in Greek for reasons I will not get into right now. But in Greek, that word in means in, next to, beside, in front of, around, surrounded by, enveloped in, behind. I think you get to immersed completely in, not just like in, but the whole totality of proximity. In it, but not of it. Now that word of is the Greek word ek, which yes, it does mean of, but most of the times it's translated as from. In this world. Now this world is not the planet. That word that's used for world means all of the human stuff that we have created. Okay? It's like, yes, we're on this planet, we're in this planet, but that's not what it's saying. It's saying we're in something. We're in this vibratory pattern that has been created out of human consciousness, but we are not of it, nor are we from it. We are from someplace else. And I think Jesus was continuously trying to get us across the veil. Don't get stuck in what we see right here. All spiritual traditions will tell you that it's appearances. It's Maya. It is illusion. There's a way that things appear that's not the last word. How many of you in the room just knew that you knew something and it turned out to be wrong? Or when you thought that you knew it, it was it for its time, but then it stopped being it. Like I say, I don't know why we get so obsessed with these things called facts as though they are immutable. A fact is just a fact until it's not. Those of you who are here now, you're in this room with me now. This is a fact. And in a little while, it'll stop being this fact. Facts are subject to change, and facts are subject to interpretation. And we give way too much credence to what we call the material facts, and certainly not enough to the spiritual facts. the spiritual facts. We have a power to resurrect. This whole month we have been talking about power, where power is capacity. Okay? Power is the ability to do. And I find it so interesting for how many of us the word power is uncomfortable or we associate it with negativity. So that to even say something like stand in your power is not something that people are striving for. You know what I'm talking about? Where power has gotten this bad rap. Power is the pure capacity to be and to do. As it says in Scripture in 2 Timothy, Paul says to Timothy, I know who you are. You're not in this world. You're in it, but you're not from here. I know who you are. I know you. I know your mama. Shoot, I know your grandmama. I know Louis. I know Lois. I know Eunice. I know them. He said, there's something about you, and you need to stand in it. In the King James Version, we have translated as stir up the gifts. That we all have these gifts of the Spirit. Ways of seeing and being. A more literal translation would be fan the flames. Fan the flames. He said, because God has not given us a spirit of fear. Has not given us a spirit of timidity or cowardice. That's what that word fear really means. We have not been given a spirit of timidity. We're not mealy-mouthed beings. That we have been given a spirit of power. The Greek dunamis. Dunamis, the sheer ability and capacity to bring things into being. That we have been given a spirit of power. A spirit of love, the agapeo love, not just the relational, familial kinship, but the agapeo choice love, the will to be in oneness, and that we have been given the spirit of self-discipline. King James Version says sound mind, but it's really self-discipline. We have not been given the spirit of timidity, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. A spirit of power. Listen to what I'm saying. I am not talking about institutional authority. I am not talking about domination. I am not talking about control over other people, places, and things. I am not talking about any kind of relational you against or over anybody. The spirit of something is greater than its manifestation. I want you to catch what I'm saying. Jesus was talking about this all the time. He said, you're busy trying to obey the letter of the law, but you're ignoring the spirit. The spirit is transcendent of the letter. Because you can obey the letter and defile the spirit. You can obey the letter. You can technically be within the margins, but you're wrong. But you missed the point. He says it's not enough that you not kill your brother. Technically, in the Ten Commandments is thou shalt not murder. And the reason why I'm being very explicit about that is because we come in the United States from a Judeo-Christian background. And perhaps if it actually said thou shalt not kill, we wouldn't be such warmongers. It says thou shalt not murder. Doesn't say thou shalt not lie. It says thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. These are communal codes, okay, of how we can do this trek in the journey here and all make it out on the other side. It's not just a bunch of thou shalt not. He says, yes, technically, you cannot kill your brother, but you're killing him with your words. Listen to what I'm saying. You're killing him with your words. Now, I'm going to step on some toes here, including my own. I'm being real. Since it's not good enough that you don't commit adultery, if you're doing it in your mind, there's a spirit of stuff. Listen to what I'm saying. There's a spirit of it. And I can't think of another time in history where understanding the spirit of something wasn't more important than what we have now in the way that we use communication and technology and this so-called virtual world that we live in. Because we can convince ourselves that we're not doing stuff that we're doing. Okay? If you're sitting there shooting up and killing people hour after hour after hour in video games, technically speaking, you haven't shot anybody. But in the spirit of it, you're a killing machine. Okay? These online relationships, I'm just saying. If you don't want anybody to know, if you don't want that drop search on your search engine in the newspaper, if you can't own that, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I'm not saying these things to be judgmental. What I'm saying is that Jesus came with a message, and it was about consciousness, not just about actions. It wasn't just about obeying this law or that law. He says, it's in your heart. What are you harboring in your heart? Purify your heart. The spirit of something, okay? We have been given a spirit of power. Even when we're depressed, the reason why we are depressed is because our spirit of power is repressed. That's why we're depressed. Are you with me? Even when we're getting into things like addictions, even when we are getting into all kinds of at-risk behavior, it's because there's something within us that's unsettled. There's something within us that can't accept the circumstances and conditions as they are or our feelings. There's a spirit of power within us. And we name it bad when it goes sideways. But I can hear my mentor, Michael Beckwith, in my head now. In prac training, he used to say, behind every human aberration is a spiritual aspiration. Behind every human aberration is a spiritual aspiration. Everybody wants the same thing. I've done 16 years knee deep in the prisons, and I'm telling you, everybody wants the same thing. It's just when you don't know that you're not of this world, you do the stuff that's in this world. When you don't know that you're not of it, you don't see your choices. You don't know that you have opportunities to do other things. We have the power to resurrect. I don't care how down you are never out. I don't care how down you are never out. In fact, some of us have to hit the so-called bottom to find out that we're never out. How low do we have to go to know? Drama's optional. You can meet God anywhere. God is in the gutter and God is on the mountaintop because God is all there is. We keep saying like God is within us. Why? Because we're walking around in God. The only reason why there is air in your lungs is because you're walking and moving around in the air. God is all there is. Everywhere. So there's no place that you can go where God's not. There's no place where you can go where any of the spiritual qualities are not. There isn't a place on the earth where there is no love. There's not a place on the earth where there's no music. There's not a place on the earth where there's no creativity. The only question is, how much do you know it and how much are you willing to let come through you? That's your only choice. And do not shut your own self down for protest for what other people are doing. And particularly not protest for how other people are using their power. We don't use our power as a protest against how other people are using their power. Newsflash. You can't not use your power. Just what are you using it for? Are you using it to keep yourself down or are you using it to keep yourself up? See, everybody's got faith. There's no such thing as no faith. What do you have faith in? I'm reminded now of this conversation I had years ago in Los Angeles. And this brother's having this conversation with me. He's an active intravenous drug user. Okay? Back in the day, I'd have called him a junkie. But he's an active intravenous drug user. So he's busy trying to explain to me not only how there's no God, that he doesn't have any faith, and that there's no such thing as faith. And I was explaining to him, oh no, see my brother, not only is there a God, and is there such a thing as faith, you got more faith than I do. And we're arguing down. And finally I just said, you really think you can shoot up tonight, pass out a few days, wake up, somehow or another, your body's going to heal and restore enough for you to wake up and do this all over again. You actually believe that. I ain't got that much faith. I believe I'm too scared I would die. So whatever that is that you think is going to wake you up, bring you back, put some more blood in your veins so you can do this crap all over again, oh, baby, I ain't got that kind of faith. I said, and whatever you think that is, that's what I call God. Now, I don't know what you call it, but you sure got a lot of faith in it. We all have power. What are we using our power for? We have the power to resurrect. Power is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. We get it confused with privilege. We get it confused with entitlement. and all of those, I'm not even making judgments about any of those. In fact, I invite everybody to own your privilege, because you can't share something you don't know you have. See? I go into the prisons because I'm free. It's a privilege to be free. It's a privilege to have a microphone. And this platform, this is a privilege. And when I own it, I can use it responsibly. Are you with me? If you have an education, that's privilege. You got a job, that's privilege. You got a home, that's privilege. You got love in your heart, that's a privilege. And we can't share anything we don't know that we have. No one can take your power. No one has your power. You are born with a spirit of power that you cannot lose. The best you can do is not use it and let somebody else use theirs all over you. But they don't have yours. Listen to what I'm saying. They don't have yours. Have you ever tried to get your power back from somebody? Lots of luck. Because they don't have it. They don't have it. Martin Luther King was not trying to get black folks' power back from white people. Gandhi wasn't trying to get English power, Indian power back from the English. And most people don't know he started in South Africa. 9/11, I think it was 1918, was his first big protest in South Africa. I don't care whether we're talking about you in your home or global politics. You can't resurrect till you claim your power. If you're not willing to claim your power, you're going to be a martyr. You're going to be a victim. One of the fastest ways to reclaiming your power, breathe, is forgiveness. Forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't right the wrongs. Forgiveness doesn't let anybody off the hook. Forgiveness lets you stand back in your power. Because as long as you don't forgive, in your mind, you are allowing some person, place, thing, or circumstance to be bigger than you are. You're still carrying on the story of all what you can't be or what can't be because of what somebody else did. It's similar to the thinking they have our power. They've usurped it, they've taken it, they've disempowered us, blah, 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 blah. We can be victimized, but you don't have to be a victim. The victim consciousness is disempowering. When Jesus says, forgive them for they know not what they do, hanging on the cross, he's not ignorant. In Greek, the Greek word prazo is the making of something. It's the actual process of doing it. When he said, forgive them that they know not what they do, he wasn't using that. He was using the teleo, which is that which is set into motion. That which is created that takes on a life of its own, independent of it. It would be like there's the process of building, and then there's the building. The building lasts a lot longer than the process of the building. You don't even remember the process of the building because you're just so busy in the building. Okay? And this is where we get stuck all the time. Is it when we're talking about social justice stuff, what we're saying we've been left with this building and people are saying, well, don't blame me for building it. We don't care who built it. We're in the building. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. They are setting something into motion that they do not understand. None of us know what we do, for better or for worse. We have no idea of the impact we are having on people, in negative ways or in blessings. We have no idea. None. None. Jesus asked God to forgive them. Listen to what I'm saying. In the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our debts. We're not asked to forgive the debts. We can't forgive the debts. There's this little thing called karma. And we can't change it. You can't change yours, you can't change somebody else's. You can shift it. You can shift it. You don't have to keep down that path and keep recreating that same karma all over again. But we have the power to break free. We have the power, no matter what it is that's happened, no matter what it is that is done to us, we have the power to know I'm in it, but I am not from this. I am not of this. Every recovery program, any kind of therapy, any kind of survivor, anything from sexual abuse to war trauma is always saying the same thing. Go back to the beginning. Go back to where you come from. Come back to the fact that you are first and foremost a spiritual being having a human experience, but the human experience does not in any way, shape, or form change or reshape your divinity. Your divinity just is. It just is. But you can't resurrect until you know you have the power to resurrect. I don't understand. For the life of me, I do not understand why Christianity chose Jesus on the cross as the symbol of Christianity. I don't get it. I don't get it. When the man said, you can't kill me, I'm not gonna die, 3 days, I'm coming back. If you're gonna make something the symbol of the man's life, make it the stone going away from the tomb. I don't get it. He said, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. This is an example. This is an example. It's not an exception. Jesus was not living a life of exception. He kept telling everybody, look, do what I'm doing. Understand that you too are one with God. Understand that we are brothers and sisters with each other. Understand that everything that I am doing, you can do. Know ye not that you are God's, even greater things will you do. Let's just not praise some man for resurrecting. We all can resurrect. We are all on some kind of cross at some point in time. We are. And I'm not talking about the crucifix with him hanging on it. I'm talking about the symbol of the cross. The vertical. From heaven to earth. That world of complete manifestation. Spirituality. The horizontal. This world, our humanity, and the intersection of that cross, where the vertical crosses the horizontal. That's where your power is. It's at that intersection of the ascendant down to the base of the earth and the whole lineage of consciousness from left to right on the time continuum. It is the intersection of that. That's where your power is. And when you're standing there, you know you resurrect. When you're standing there, you know no weapon formed against you shall prosper. When you're standing there, that's when you can let it go. When you're standing there, you can look at every test in your life and say, oh, baby, this is my testimony. You can't have a testimony without a test. You can't have a testimony without a test. Don't rob people of their testimonies. Hello. I don't care if they're your children. Don't rob people of their testimonies, trying to keep them from their tests. Every trial and tribulation is a triumph in the making. Now, I know I've been talking a lot here about Jesus. But before I end, I want to make this perfectly clear. This has nothing to do with a single religion. This is no monopoly. I am talking about pure consciousness. I'm talking about an energy field of restoration, of renewal that the spring represents. Easter is not in the Bible. It's not in the Bible. Easter is the fertility goddess Esther. Yes, the pagan fertility goddess. The hair, they multiply a lot and quickly. They are fertility symbols. So is the egg. The decorating the eggs from ancient Egypt. Bunnies don't lay eggs. These are all renewal. They are fertility symbols. Okay? We just need to get over it. Why does Easter keep changing around? Because Easter is tied to cosmology. If I have it right, it's the first Sunday after the first full moon of the spring equinox. Easter is the first Sunday after the first full moon of the spring equinox. That's why it keeps changing around. It'll either be like mid-March or like late April. Okay. I'm just saying that Jesus exemplified something, but it didn't start 2,000 years ago. He's not the only one. Let's not miss it. Not just a religion about him, but of him. Jesus wasn't Christian. Oops. Jesus wasn't Christian. This is a baptismal pool back behind here. Jesus himself was baptized before there was any Christianity. Let's not get stuck in the divisiveness. Let's not get stuck in who has it right and what religion and what holiday or what not. The Spirit. I'm calling forth the spirit of resurrection the spirit of renewal, the spirit of translation, the spirit of the newness, the spirit of the transcendent. It's yours. You just have to claim it by standing in your power.